Hi, this session is on linear equations and worded problems, and we'll be going through quite a variety of examples. Our first problem says Leonie and Emma scored 28 goals between them in a netball match. Leonie scored 8 more goals than Emma. Now, with that information, we can come up with an equation, sometimes more than one equation, to work out how many goals each girl scored individually. And this question here actually breaks it up for you on how to do this. And of course, our first step with any worded problem is to define or state your variables, which means explain what your variables stand for. So let's answer question A. Define a variable for the number of goals scored by Emma. And we can also do one for Leonie. So for A, I'm using L for Leonie. It's not just her name, but the amount of goals she scores. That's why I've got goals in brackets. And E for Emma, and the number of goals she scored during this netball match. The next question says, for B, write the number of goals scored by Leonie in terms of the variable in part A. Okay, so the question, so how many goals has Leonie scored? What do they tell us? So Leonie and Emma scored 28 goals between them. In a netball match, Leonie scored 8 more goals than Emma. The second sentence is the answer. She scored 8 more goals than Emma. So we can say Leonie's score, so this is for B, is equal to 8 more goals than Emma. So Emma is first, and Leonie scored 8 more goals than her. And there's an equation that shows us how many goals Leonie scored. We still don't know how many goals she actually scored, but it's a start. Now C says, write an equation in terms of your variable to represent the problem. We could have done this at the beginning because in this sentence here, the first sentence, we can also have another equation. It says that Leonie and Emma scored 28 goals between them. So straight away, that's an equation. I can just simply, so we're sort of answering C. So Leonie and Emma, so L plus E, Leonie and Emma scored 28 goals between them. So Leonie's goals plus Emma's goals gave a total of 28. And the other thing is now, we can't solve this just yet because we have L and E, two unknown variables. But we know that L equals what? E plus 8. So I can just replace or substitute L for E plus 8. And so I'm going to answer question D, which is to solve the equation and to find out how many goals each girl scored. So instead of L, I've got E plus 8, then plus E equals 28. Simplify, so we've got 2E plus 8 equals 28, minus 8, so 2E equals 20, and divide by 2, E will equal 10. And what does that E stand for? The amount of goals Emma scored. And there it is. It's telling us Emma has scored 10 goals. And of course, to find out how many goals Leonie scored, sub it into equation B. Instead of E, if we had 10, 10 plus 8 is 18. So Leonie would have scored 18 goals. And to double check, 18 plus 10, do we get a total of 28? Yes, we do. So then write your final statement, which will be, therefore, Emma scored 10 goals and Leonie scored. Now with our next question, I'm not going to follow each of these steps with this question. I'm just going to do it in my own way, but by doing that, I'll be following all these steps. And the first step is 3A says, define a variable for the unknown width. So before we start, let's read the problem. A rectangle, okay, is 4 times as long as it is wide. Now that sounds really confusing, so we'll have to get our head around that. And its perimeter is 560 centimeters. Before I do anything else, I'm going to write down the information that I know when it comes to a rectangle and its perimeter. Now we know the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to 2 lengths plus 2 widths. And this can be factorized, but we'll just leave it like this. We're also given information. It tells us the perimeter is 560 centimeters. So that's the total perimeter. And with a rectangle, we're dealing with L, which is the length. Our units in the question are centimeters, and we also have a width. So width in centimeters. So we're sort of identifying our variables. P will be 560, so P won't be in our equation later on. Now, let's look at our problem. So that's what we're starting off with. But the problem is I can't solve this unless I know two of these variables. P is 560. So if I continue with this, P is 560. So far I've got this. 560 is equal to 2L plus 2W. I still can't solve this. I have to figure out what is L or what is W from the given information. Now let's have a look. Now this is the tricky part. So let's try and get our head around it. A rectangle is 4 times as long as it is wide. Now, what's that saying is, if we read it like this, a rectangle is 4 times longer than its width. That's what it's sort of saying. So to write an equation for that, we would have this. L for length is equal to 4 times its width. Okay, so its length is as long as 4 times its width. So it is quite tricky, but that's what it's actually saying. And now that we know what L is, we substitute 4W into our equation. So we end up with 560 equals 2 times 4W plus 2W. And you can expand this and then simplify. So you should end up with W, you guys can solve this, equals, I got 56 centimeters. Okay, and to find out what the length is, so the question then says, what is the length and width? So we're going to find both L and W. So if the width is 56 centimeters, just sub it into the equation where W is and solve for L. When I did that, I got a length of 224 centimeters. And this is something that you can do. So substitute when W is 56, sub it into the equation. And of course, you can write your final statement explaining what you have found. Now, once again, this one was tricky because of the way it was worded. So you just have to get your head around it. Now, our next question says, Toby rented a car for a total cost of $290. If the rental company charged $40 per day plus a hiring fee of $50, for how many days did Toby rent the car? Okay, so this one, we have to write a linear equation for it. And if he spent $290, how many days did he rent the car for? So let's break this down. The rental company charges $40 per day. That's our first step. So, but of course, let's define our variables. So we're dealing with a hiring fee or a cost. So we can use C for costs in dollars. And then per day, so D can stand for number of days this person has rented the car for. All right, so now it says the rental company charged $40 per day. So the cost of the rental company, $40 per day, will be 40 times per day, or 40D. And let's continue reading. Plus a hiring fee of $50. So you have to pay that one-off fee to hire the car. That probably covers office costs, paperwork and things like that. So we have to include that, plus 50. And there we have it. There we have our equation for that problem. So that equation shows the cost the company charges, $40 per day plus the $50 office fee or hiring fee. And now, using this equation, we're going to answer the actual question, which says, for how many days did Toby rent the car if he paid a total cost of $290? Easy. So C is a total cost of $290. We'll place it into the equation. So there's C. So we end up with 290 plus 290 equals 40D plus 50. And all we're going to do now is solve for D. So minus 50 on both sides. So that will leave me with 40D equals 240. And then divide by 40. Divide by 40 And D will equal, cross off my zeros, 24 divided by 4 is 6. And D, we know D stands for the number of days. So your final statement will be therefore, Toby rented the car for 6 days. And that's it. So the hardest part was coming up with this equation. We have done one similar in class. So just make sure you read it carefully. All right, our next question says, Andrew walked a certain distance and then ran twice as far as he walked. He then caught a bus for the last 2 kilometers. If he traveled a total of 32 kilometers, find how far Andrew walked and ran. All right, so that's quite a mouthful. So let's just break it down slowly. So Andrew, he walked, he ran, and he also caught a bus. Now the bus part tells us the journey with the bus was 2 kilometers. That's done for us. So we've got to work out, all right, how far did he walk, and then how far did he run? So let's start off with identifying our variables, just to see what variables we can use. So we are dealing with walking, running, and the bus. Now the bus, we know he traveled a total of 2 kilometers. So that's done for us. Running, let's have a look. Sorry, R can stand for running, or he ran. And we've got walk, just to make it clear what it stands for. But now let's have a look at the information. Can we work out what W is or what R is with some of the information? So Andrew walked a certain distance. There's no extra information. He just walked a certain distance. Let's read the next part. This is the part that's important. And then he ran twice as far as he walked. So if he walked a certain distance, he ran twice as much. So we can say R is also equal to twice as much as he walked, or 2W. And this will be important. We need to use this later on. Okay, so that's just from the information that's given to us. Now, it also tells us he traveled a total of what? A total of 32 kilometers, okay? And that's really important because we can now write an equation summarizing this whole thing. So, Andrew walked, plus he ran, plus he caught the bus, and it gave a total distance of 32 kilometers. We'll leave kilometers out. Don't write kilometers because it looks like more variables. Now, we can't solve this unless we know what 2 of these variables are. We know what the bus is, okay? Bus was straight away 2 kilometers. So that's going to be 2. And have a look. R is also 2W. So I'll replace R with 2W. So I'll end up with this. W plus 2W plus 2 equals 32. Can I now solve this? Yes, I can. We have eliminated 2 variables from the given information. The hardest part was the running part. Remember, it tells us that he ran twice as far as he walked. So it's just twice means times it by 2. W for the distance he walked. So let's simplify this. So we have 3W plus 2 equals 32 minus 2. So we've got 3W equals 30 and W will equal 10. Now make sense of this. What does that mean? It means he's walked a distance of 10 kilometers. And now we're going to work out how far did he run. If W is 10, you can put it in this equation here. So he ran 2 times W, which is 10. So he ran a distance of 20 kilometers. And that's it. And double check, 10 plus 20 plus 2, does it give us 32? Yes, it does. Our next question looks like another tricky one, but let's break it down. All right, a prize of $1,000 is divided between Adele and Benita, so that Adele receives $280 more than Benita. How much did each person receive? All right, so our first step is, let's identify some variables. So we can have A for Adele and B for Benita. So A is for Adele, but we're not just talking about the actual person, it's their prize money, okay? So Adele, we can say, and her prize money, or Adele's prize money in dollars, and the same for Benita. So Benita's prize money, and our units are dollars, just to make that clear. It's not just a person, but in this case, what prize money they've won. All right, let's see what equations we can come up with. So a prize of $1,000 is divided between Adele and Benita. So how much was the total amount of prize money? $1,000. So straight away I can say, well, Anita won some money plus Adele won some money and Benita, and it was a total of $1,000. There's one equation. Her prize money plus her prize money is a total of $1,000. Now we're going to work out how much did each person get. Now I can't solve this because I don't know what A is and I don't know what B is. So let's see if we can get some more information. And Benita, so now this is the part that's important. So that Adele receives $280 more than Benita. Now there's an equation there. Read it again. Adele receives $280 more than Benita. So that equation can be written as Adele's prize money is equal to $280 more than Benita. So B comes first plus $280 more than that. And we got it. If A is this, replace A with B plus 280 and it will eliminate our A. So B plus 280 plus B equals 1,000. So we're using this equation now that we started off with. We replaced A with B plus 280. Simplify it. 2B plus 280 equals 100. When you solve this, A will equal 600. Whoop, that just changed color. Will equal 640. And of course, what does that mean? A is for Adele. So that's telling us Adele won a total, her prize money was $640. To work out Benita's, well, just go 1,000 minus 640. So Benita's prize money would have been 360. And you can explain that, okay? Our next question, Katie is 3 times as old as her son. There's an equation there we can use. Next bit, if Katie is 30 years older than her son, what are their ages? So straight away I can see 2 equations in the first sentence and in this part here to work out their ages. So before we do that, let's identify our variables. So we've got Katie's age. So K can be for Katie. Katie's age. And we'll use S for her son. S can be the son's age. All right, so now let's come up with some equations from that information. First one, Katie is 3 times as old as her son. So Katie is, so we use K, we know is equal to 3 times as old as her son. We don't have her son's age, but her son's age is represented by S, and we're done. This can simplify to K is equal to 3S. We can't solve it yet because we don't know what K is or S, but that's our first equation. Easy. Next part, if Kate is 30 years older than her son, what equation can you write here? Okay, so once again, Kate is, so we can say Kate is 30 years older than who? Her son. What comes first, the 30 or her son's age? Her son. So we don't know her son's age, so S comes first, and she is 30 years older than his age. And that's our second equation. And now that we've got these 2 equations, we can actually put them together. If K is 3S, we'll replace that K with 3S. So we've got 3S equals S plus 30. And minus S on that side to bring the S's together. So we have 2S equals 30. I'll just squeeze it up here. Divide by 2. S gives us 15. What does S stand for? The son's age. So therefore the son's age is 15. And you can work out what Katie's age is. If the son's age is 15, replace S with 15. What's 3 times 15? It's 45. So Kate's age is 45. And that's it. Question 8 is actually a tricky one, but it's when you get your head around it, it's quite easy. Let's have a read. A train station is between the towns Antville and Bugville. If it helps, for this one, it'll help if you draw a diagram. So let's just draw. So we've got a train station, and it's in between A for Antville and B for Bugville. All right, and the train station is somewhere in between. Now, the station is 4 times as far from Bugville as it is from Anville. So which station is it closer to, Bugville or Anville? Well, it's closer to Anville because it tells us it's 4 times as far from Bugville. So the station will be lying, just say, around here. So imagine it's 4 parts away from Bugville and 1 part from Antville. So you can actually work this out without actually using an equation. We'll just continue reading. If the distance from Antville to Bugville is 95 kilometers, how far is it from Anville to the station? So the whole distance from here to here is 95 kilometers. And if this is 1 part, that means there are 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. From the station to Bugville, or the station to Antville. Because it tells us that the station is 4 times as far from Bugville. So you can actually work this out by dividing it by 5, but let's just use an equation. So if we have a distance, what's a total distance? We've got this part here. There's a station, and then this part here, okay? Now this part here, from Anville to the station, we can call X. And then, what do we write for the distance from the station to Bugville? Well, we can say, it tells us that the station is 4 times as far from Bugville. 4 times as far from Bugville as it is from Antville. So X is the distance from Antville to the station. So that means here we will have 4X. 4 times as far from this distance. So I forgot to mention, X represents the distance, but from Antville. So from Antville, okay? So it's just this part here. There's Antville, there's a station, it's X. And it tells us that from the station to Bugville, it's 4 times as far. And so the total distance is going to be X plus the 4X. Okay, that gives us the total distance. Do we know what D is? Yes, they tell us the total distance is 95. So we have now, instead of D, replace it with 95. So 95 is equal to X plus 4X. So 95 is equal to 5X. Divide by 5. So 95 divided by 5. X will equal 19. And what does X mean? It's telling us that from Anville to the station is a distance of 19 kilometers. And the distance from the station to Bugville is 4 times 19, or 4 times X, which is 19. So this was a bit of a tricky one. So that's why when you have problems like this, a diagram may help. We've got a distance, in this case X, and this distance is 4 times X. Now with the last question, I'll start you off, and you should be able to work it out yourself. It's not that difficult. Let's have a look. Andrew, Brenda, and Cami all work part-time at a supermarket. Cami earns $20 more than Andrew, and Brenda earns $30 less than twice Andrew's wage. This is the important part so far. If their total combined wage is $400, okay, we've got to find out how much each worker earns. So our first step is, you can identify your own variables. I'm going to use A for Andrew's income, plus B for Brenda's income, plus C for Cami's. It's equal to a total of $400. So whatever they earned at their jobs for, I think it was for that week, is $400. There's our main equation. Unfortunately, we can't solve it because we've got 3 unknown variables. We've got to use information to work out what the other, at least 2 variables are. Let's have a look. Cami earns $20 more than Andrew. There's an equation there. C for Cami earns $20 more than who? Andrew. So A comes first and plus $20 more than that. So we can replace C with A plus 20. But we still have two unknown variables. Let's keep going. And Brenda earns $30 less than twice Andrew's wage. So Brenda earned, so now we have B equals $30 less than twice Andrew's wage. So twice of Andrew's wage will be 2A, and she earns $30 less than that. So now instead of B, we will have 2A minus 30. So all you're going to do is now substitute what C and B equal to into the equation, and we should end up with only A as our variable. Let's have a look. A plus B is 2A minus 30. You should substitute with brackets. We'll do that in case. Plus C is A plus 20. And this all equals a total of $400. Okay, and what you're going to do now is simply simplify. The brackets don't have to be there for this question, so we can rub them off. Imagine it was your next step. Whoop. And now, simplify your A's. You have A plus 2A plus A and so on. That's 30. And you can work out what A is. Okay, thank you.